Welcome back to Buy or Sell, the series where you pitch me your predictions for the theme park world, and I either buy or sell them and explain why. If you want your idea considered for the next video, leave a comment below starting with buy or sell. In this episode, we look at the big new for 2025 coasters that may have big problems, where Switchback at ZDTs may end up, and what could be replacing Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit at Universal Studios Florida. This is Buy or Sell, episode 37. Let's start with Mike Carp. A few coaster YouTubers from North America make the trip to Saudi Arabia for Falcon's Flight, and none of them manage to ride it. There are certain parts of the world that are harder to get to than others. Obviously, there are tons of enthusiasts in America and Europe and Australia, so anything built there gets jumped on right away. Some of the more ambitious travelers will go to South America and China and the Middle East. The UAE has some great parks and has had a share of visitors, but Saudi Arabia is kind of a new one. I know, they want tourists. They have something called Vision 2030, pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into attracting people to the country. And in 2023, they got 106 million visitors. I don't think it's necessarily unsafe to go there. At least, not for everyone. They do have well-known human rights issues and that doesn't help, but I think we will see some YouTubers make the journey. Now, will it be open for them? I'm willing to say yes, so I'm selling none of them getting to ride. A lot of people think this will be a disaster from the start, being down all the time, and maybe it will. But that doesn't mean it won't serve some lucky riders and we'll finally get our first review. I'm actually genuinely super curious to see how good this coaster is. Mars Janker. Of the top 5 coasters of 2025, at least 2 will fail to open or be open for less than a month. This question came after I released my ranking of every major 2025 coaster. Check that out if you haven't already. But the top 5 included Siren's Curse, Iron Rattler, Stardust Racers, Alpenfury, and Falcon's Flight. Will 2 of these coasters fail to open entirely, or open for just a short amount of time? I just said Falcon's Flight will get some rides this year, but of these 5, this is by far the most likely to have massive maintenance issues. Siren's Curse and Iron Rattler are tilt coasters, a lot of moving parts, but I don't see them having major issues. Stardust Racers is a mock launch coaster at Epic Universe. It's been complete for a long time. It's been testing for a long time also. I think this is going to be ready for prime time by the time the park opens. Alpenfury is from Premier Rides. We all know they've had their problems, but once this gets built, it's pretty basic. 2 LSM launches and then it runs its course. Falcon's Flight could be a total fail and I'd still be right to sell this. I do wonder how much downtime the tilt coasters will have, but this is pretty old technology going back over 20 years, so that gives me hope. Jill Sylphin. Nighthawk's replacement will be a new age Vekoma and will open in 2027 or 2028. Years and years after I predicted it, Nighthawk is finally done. The landscape of the industry has changed since then. Vekoma has become more prominent with their catalog, and it seems like the perfect replacement for an old Flying Dutchman is a new Flying Dutchman. Bringing the first new age launch Vekoma flyer to America would be a huge splash. It would be a big draw. Carowinds is the type of park where this kind of investment makes sense, but will they actually do it? It's a long shot, I'm selling it. If I was a betting man, give me a B&M dive. Charlotte is kind of off on its own, 4 hours from Dollywood, over Georgia, even further from King's Dominion and Busch Gardens. Griffin is kinda close, but that's what, 6 hours away? Dives are reliable, they're people eaters. The park could use another B&M looper. They could market it by making it tall or steep. They have Copperhead Strike, so a launch coaster isn't on the wish list, and New Age Vekoma mostly makes launch coasters. A launch flyer would be a great marketing point, but a dive is much more likely. Coaster Guide 12. Hershey Park's next family coaster will be a Vekoma launch family coaster. We've seen these pop up over the last few years. I guess you can kinda trace it back to the Tron coasters at the Disney parks. But I'm thinking more of 2023 and on, starting with Lightning at Furuvik and Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. Since then, we've seen Jungle Rush at Dreamworld and Aquila at Mendoria. These can be very simple, but they can also be very long, as we've seen with Big Bear Mountain. They can be very dynamic, as we've seen with Jungle Rush. And it seems like this would be right up Hershey Park's alley. I'm buying this. I would also expect it to come relatively soon. They've been packing in thrill coasters since 2020. Laugh Track came 10 years ago, and look at that. They took a Maurer Spinner clone and made it something special by going above and beyond. The Vekoma Launch Family Coaster, themed as some kind of candy adventure, fits the park perfectly. They seem to have the money to invest in that, so I like this idea. Chris's Playlist. Montezuma's Revenge will be replaced by a Zamperla Double Heart Coaster. Montezuma's Revenge closed almost 3 years ago. It was going for a major overhaul to reopen in 2023, and I guess they hired Comeback to do it and it didn't work out so great. It looked like the project was dead, but as of March 2024, Knott's announced the project was back on and to expect it in 2025. I'm gonna take their word for it and sell this. but we're still not 100% sure this is going to work out. However, if they were to replace it with something else, I'm selling a Zamperla Double Heart. For one, it's too soon. Give the Six Flags chain some time to recover from the Top Thrill 2 disaster. But on the other hand, the chain has entrusted Premier Rides to build Alpenfury, and their Skyrocket 2 model would be a great linear coaster for this plot. They do have one up north at Discovery Kingdom and down south at SeaWorld, but as long as Magic Mountain doesn't have one, I think it's fair game. If they did replace Montezuma with a coaster, I think this would be it. Braden Mooney. The Intamin replacing Rip Ride Rockit will be the same as Hollywood Drift. There has been some paperwork filed about a new Intamin project coming to Universal Orlando, and we just saw permits that Hollywood Rip Ride Rockit would be removed. So let's tie those two together and assume a new Intamin coaster will be taking the spot on Universal's Main Street. I'm buying this, not only being the same model, but having the same theme. It seems like a Fast and Furious themed coaster would fit in very well in the front of the park. I know, they have Fast and Furious Supercharge, but who cares? They can have two, or get rid of that one. Launched, inversions, maybe having a helix where the cars drift. This will obviously have a different layout, not being built on the side of a hill, but it can be the same basic ride. The two American Universal parks share a lot in common. Revenge of the Mummy, Wizarding World, Transformers 3D, Simpsons, E.T. It makes a lot of sense to share this also, and it doesn't seem like a coincidence that Intamin is involved with both parks at the same time. If it's not a coaster like Hollywood Drift, a coaster like the one going to Russia's Dream Island seems like a perfect fit. The vertical launch coaster. It looks a lot like Rip Ride Rockit, so it would fit on that plot. The only thing is, Velocicoaster is right next door, so are they going to put it in a coaster that has a lot of the same characteristics? Intamin launch with a top hat and inversions. This can happen if they theme it enough, but that leads me back to Hollywood Drift. Those spinning or drifting cars would make this quite different. If they go with a more traditional Intamin launch coaster, there's also rumors about a Ghostbusters theme. That would work really well in that spot also, but I'd put that as a secondary choice. It's also possible this isn't a coaster at all, and they'll replace Rip Ride Rockit with something else. But I think there's too much evidence that leads me to think this will be an Intamin coaster replacement. Blitzall. Six Flags will load their parks with B&M hypers like Cedar Fair did for the Paramount parks. It's true, when Cedar Fair took over the Paramount parks, all of them except for Great America got a B&M hyper the next 4 years. Plus, King's Dominion got a Giga. It makes sense, Cedar Fair didn't buy those parks just to push them down to the bottom of the chain. Well, they kinda did that to Michigan's Adventure, but that's a one-off. They wanted to make Kings Island, Carowinds, Canada's Wonderland, and King's Dominion top-tier parks, and they've done so, with the exception of King's Dominion, but that was mainly because they couldn't get the tax breaks they wanted. I don't think they want to bring every legacy Six Flags park into the top tier, and this was a merger, not an acquisition, but I thought the top of the Six Flags chain would benefit, and so far that looks like it's true. I know, Kingda Ka's gone, that sucks. But we're looking at 3 major coasters coming to Great Adventure, Magic Mountain, and Over Texas in 2026. So they will reap the benefits of Cedar Fair's management in that sense. But will we see hypers at these parks? No way, I'm selling this. Great Adventure, Great America, Magic Mountain, Over Texas, Over Georgia. All those parks already have hypers, and the parks that don't have one and can really use one are Fiesta Texas and St. Louis. I don't know if they want to invest that much into St. Louis, but I could see them doing it for Fiesta Texas. I just don't know if there's any kind of height restriction there. Maybe a mini hyper like Goliath at Laron would be a good fit. That's all I can see happening, and even then it doesn't seem likely. Patrick Bateman. With the loss of Kingda Ka, Great Adventure is no longer ranked as a top tier Six Flags park, replaced by Over Texas, Fiesta Texas, or Over Georgia. Fiesta Texas is already a borderline top tier park. I think they may be interested in turning Over Texas into a top tier park. I mean, Dallas is huge. The park is in an amazing location right in the heart of Arlington, and we know they're getting a dive coaster next year. That's a great start. Over Georgia is weird. It has a lot going for it in a big city, but I'm not confident it'll get significantly better. So, no matter what happens to Great Adventure, I don't think it matters for the parks in the middle tier. I'm selling Great Adventure falling out of the top tier. I think this is the dark before the dawn. I think the new chain has big aspirations for Great Adventure, and we're gonna start seeing that in 2026. This park serves both New York and Philly. There's no reason to screw this park over. Nobody has removed more coasters in Great Adventure. They're constantly swapping old stuff out for new stuff. And I know, everyone's super mad right now, and it makes sense. I think the anger comes more from the park not announcing the closure, more so than the actual closure itself. But I think we'll see Great Adventure in a better position years from now than they ever would have been staying under the old Six Flags management. Nerd Fiction. Kingda Ka's replacement will reach 1 million riders before Top Thrill 2 does. We know 2 things. Well, we think we know 2 things. Kingda Ka's replacement will come in 2026, and Top Thrill 2 will be ready on opening day 2025. Could all that change? Absolutely yes, and it wouldn't shock anybody. So, Top Thrill had a few riders this year, 8 days worth, and it will have the entirety of 2025 as a head start. The original dragster gave 18 million rides over 19 years, so that's about 1 million per year, give or take. And based on some crack research, Top Thrill 2 has about the same capacity as dragster, about 1,000 riders per hour. So, in theory, Top Thrill 2 will be at 1 million before Candy Cod's replacement even sees one rider. That is, if you trust Zamperla. I don't, but I'm still selling this. Top Thrill 2 will get there first. Even if it has another bad year, and let's say it's up for half the season, it'll still have enough of a lead to get there first, especially if Cod's replacement is that mock spinning tower coaster. That doesn't look like it'll have the best capacity either. If you're buying this, that means you're saying Top Thrill 2 is a total failure in 2025. And honestly, if that's the case, it may never get to 1 million, ever. I can't rule that out, but I'm not about to put my money on that either. Read space. All three big lawn ornaments, Top Thrill 2, Steel Curtain, and Formula Rosa, run normally throughout 2025. So, among these three coasters, I think they saw about 38 days of operation in 2024. Top Thrill had 8, Formula Rosa closed on January 22nd and reopened on December 22nd, and Steel Curtain, well, that had 0. You're asking me to parlay all three of these into having a good year after this disaster of a year, and I'm gonna buy it. Sometimes you just gotta have faith, and in these three coasters, they have it from me. The last entry didn't require Top Thrill 2 to be operational all season, but this one does. So, it's more risky, but I'll flip the coin and say Zamperla figures it out. Steel Curtain is putting in extra supports to stabilize the structure. Assuming those engineers know what they're doing, that should work. Unless, for some reason, that plot of land just can't support that giant coaster and there's no saving it. But again, I'll put my faith in the engineers of S&S. As for Formula Rosa, that looked like it may be done for. But in the last week of December, it's operating again. Accelerator was also down for a long time and that reopened. Maybe Formula Rosa went through the same thing and it seems like it's ready to rock in 2025. If just one of these fails, I'm wrong. But this will appear on my 2025 buy or sell wins and losses either way. I just hope I'm on the right side of this one. Back row coasters. Gene Staples ends up buying Switchback at ZDTs, ending up at Indiana Beach or Niagara Amusement Park. Gene Staples has become a legend for buying discarded old coasters from around the world and packing them into his newfound theme park empire. ZDT's amusement park is a family fun center in Seguin, Texas, a small town about an hour east of San Antonio, and they shocked the coaster world when they had the Gravity Group build Switchback in 2015, the world's first wooden shuttle coaster, packed into basically no space, a really cool feat of coaster engineering, and made this tiny park a destination for coaster enthusiasts. The experiment of having a major coaster in a tiny park may be over. ZDT's put the ride up for sale. Maybe the maintenance cost for an aging wooden coaster was too much. So, will Gene Staples swoop in and grab this? I'm selling this. There's a park much closer that can use a ride just like this, run by a man who is one of us, a true coaster enthusiast, and wouldn't need to clear much land to make this happen. I'm talking about Six Flags Fiesta Texas and Jeffrey Seberg. Maybe he can talk corporate into buying this, moving it 1 hour west, setting it up pretty much anywhere they want, and just like that, you have a wooden coaster once again. They lost their only one when Rattler became Iron Rattler. You have a family thrill coaster that appeals to all ages. You have something as marketable as the world's only shuttle wooden coaster. And you have a piece of Texas history you said you were able to save. This makes so much sense for Fiesta Texas in every way. And I think if any park president can make this happen, Jeffrey Seberg is the man. That's a wrap on episode 37. Let me know what you think about any of these topics, if you agree or disagree, and why. Also, don't forget, if you want your idea considered for the next video, leave it in the comments below, starting with buy or sell. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I have a playlist with all the buy or sell episodes. I want to thank my Patreons. If you want bonus access, bonus content, and have your name listed at the end of each video, check my links below and join. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.